strong, talented and determined. These are the elite deaf athletes of Great Britain. They don't let a disability stand in the way of sporting greatness.
Why should I just be stopped from doing a sport that I absolutely love and would really love to represent my country just because I'm deaf?
Out of the 5 sports we've got, I feel that we will do well.
It's nice to have a bit of a sports competition going on with us, rather than in the mainstream.
Taking place this summer are the 23rd Deaf Olympics, more commonly known as the Deaflympic Games. The Games are sanctioned by the International Olympic Committee, or the IOC, and happen every 4 years. Deaf athletes from all over the world come together to compete. This year the competitors are descending on Samsun, a city on the north coast of Turkey. Turkish Minister of Youth and Sport and MP for Samsun Province, Akif Kilic, will count down the start of the Games on the 18th of July. The history of the Deaflympics goes back a long way, beginning in 1924. In fact, they precede the Paralympics, which was set up in 1948. This makes them the longest-standing international sporting event for athletes with a disability. London hosted the 4th Deaflympic Games in 1935. 12 nations participated, with 221 athletes from around the world taking part. There were 5 sporting categories in total. Great Britain was victorious. Amongst others, Britain won gold in mixed double tennis and men's football.
The chef de mission is responsible for everything from A to Z, and I'm involved with any issues with the whole team, so medical, doctors. I'm involved with coaching, staff, a variety of things going on. Going to the location to see where athletes will be staying, things like that. We've got 5 sports that'll be involved with the Deaf Olympics from GB. We've got athletics, football, golf, swimming and also tennis. So altogether, I think we've got about 63 athletes.
I travel up to Wigan from London to catch up with one of the athletes hoping to compete in the Games this year. Born with only one eardrum, Beth Ann Lishman has been partially deaf her whole life. She's hoping to make it to Samsun this summer to compete in the hammer throw. However, her position hangs in the balance as she is yet to raise the required amount.
I was born with only one eardrum, so my imbalance is sort of affected that way. If you've got a cochlear implant, it doesn't really affect your balance as much as it would affect me. So I can walk along the street with my head tilted to a side, but I actually think I'm normal. But if I've got an infection, my head tends to tilt because so there's a lot of things that, like, especially if I'm turning around fast in a circle, it's like in a roller coaster, and then trying to at some point, I've got to find the front of the circle and throw that hammer out that way. So it's not easy being deaf and being a thrower. My twin sister was an athlete as well, and we both joined our local club up in Cumbria. Little bit competitive as twins, so she joined, and then my brother was actually a hammer thrower, so then we all had to have a little sibling rivalry. And then I was rubbish at running, didn't like what you had to wear to run, couldn't do it, got bored running, so then my mum said, having a go at hammer, picked up a hammer and she said, if you hit me you can do it, so I hit her.
So obviously 2009 was the last year that athletes received funding. In your opinion, why did the government decide to cut funding?
Really, I can't answer that question. I'm as shocked as the next person as to why they decided to make the cuts. Deaf people, for example, play the lottery, but we don't get funding. We're athletes as much as the next person is. So for us not to receive the funding doesn't really make sense. It's the government showing they don't recognise deaf sports competitors as real athletes. For example, when you're fundraising, you can't go to training. If the coach says to you, "You got to come to training," and you say no, "I've got to concentrate on fundraising money," then it's your time. You either choose, should I fundraise for the sport I want to participate in, or should I train for the sport I participate in? And there's a lot of pressure to put on athletes, to ask their friends and family around them to help. It's a lot of pressure, and I believe it will affect their performance. Oh, there's been a variety of different fundraising methods from top to bottom. So, for example, people have set up lots of fundraising pages on social media asking for requests for donations and sponsorships for the athletes' clothing. Sometimes it's been successful, but it's never the full amount from things like that. It's always in bits. So there's other ways as well. Organising events, things like, I don't know, maybe a running race where you get sponsored. The fundraising has been happening for over 2 years, and it's always been done in different ways.
The Deaflympics is an IOC-sanctioned event along with the Olympics and Paralympics, yet it has not received funding for 8 years now. UK Sport is one of the organisations responsible for investing national lottery and exchequer income into sport. In the 1997 Games in Copenhagen, Deaflympics GB received £40,000 from UK Sport. The team won a total of 3 gold medals. This increased to £60,000 for the Games in Rome. GB brought home 3 gold medals this year. The highest figure was in 2005 for the Melbourne Games, when athletes received £75,000. The team won 5 gold medals. Yet in the 2009 Games in Taipei, UK Sport cut their funding completely. GB athletes brought home just 1 gold medal. For the Games in Sofia in 2013, the athletes again did not receive funding. This time, Deaflympics GB won no gold medals. British athletes are now forced to self-fund a total of £2,050 each. Yet it seems UK Sport is not strapped for cash. As current figures stand, the organisation invests just over £265 million into Olympic funding. They invest a further £71 million into the Paralympics. According to UK Sport, this is to ensure athletes can perform the best for their country. But what about deaf athletes? What impact do the funding cuts have on their performance?
For today, woke up at 2:30 in the morning on a training day, which is not good when I'm having to travel 3 hours to get down here and do a 3-hour training session. Waking up thinking, oh my God, I've got £850 to make before Monday. It's just, an athlete needs sleep, and that sleep is their recuperation. If you don't get the sleep, then it's just wasted. And yeah, I feel like this year has just been a really traumatic time, not just for me as a hammer thrower, but for the whole team. There's so many people out there that are trying so hard to, I've sold kit, I've sold old Deaflympic kit just because I'm trying to find a way of selling everything. I can't get bank loans, I've already done that. Friends have already got bank loans, they've already loaned off family. It's shocking. If you actually gave us some more funding, we could probably do even better than just bringing bronzes back. We could come back with silver, we could come with gold, world records. There's people in Russia and Ukraine, because they get paid so much money, they get a medal, they get £27,000. We get a medal and we just go, hi, well done, that's fantastic.
We reached out to UK Sport to ask them about the funding cuts. However, they declined to comment. At Loughborough University swimming pool, the GB Deaf swimming squad are busy training for the Games in Turkey. Tom Baxter, aged 24, is the squad's most senior member. This will be his 3rd time competing in the Games.
Yeah, I have to self-fund, but I also have to rely on family, but luckily I've got a really, really good support behind me, by friends, family.
And did you find it hard to raise the money to reach your target?
Not at all. Interestingly, I actually achieved 100%, and that is just really unexpected.
And how long ago did you achieve 100%?
Probably coming up 2 months, so much quicker than expected. We're all equal, as we are deaf, we are able-bodied, but as a Paralympic, they both get funded, and why can't the deaf people get funded?
Stuart Harrison is the former Vice Chair of UK Deaf Sport and author of the book Same Spirit, Different Team. He came down to London from his home in Nuneaton, where I met up with him to ask a few questions about his work and his book.
The main title is Same Spirit but Different Team. What that means is that deaf people have the same attitudes and aspirations in sport, but they're seen as different by mainstream society. And there's politics involved in that. There's the politics of deafness itself and the politics of sport. The challenges for deaf athletes are various, and they're not all the same for every athlete. But the main challenge is communication. And that is communication on the field, off the field, communication with coaches and with other people in the sport organisation.
The funding cuts could have implications for younger generations of deaf athletes. Okan is a youth coach at St John's Deaf Football Club. The squad started in 1913 and is still going strong today.
Deafness is a hidden disability, and we feel that we can compete in the mainstream football. Recently, last weekend was the deadline to pay £500 or 1,000. I can't remember, 500. I think 500 to go to Deaflympic, and the person who I coached, and since he was 16, he's now 21. He can't go because he said he doesn't have enough money. He has to pay rent. He has to pay this and that. For my personal, I played for mainstream school, and I did play for college and semi-pro for academy. It's a great experience, but I can't see myself and others to stay that long, like playing for mainstream for 10 years or 15 years, because it feels lonely. Everyone's hearing and they speak too fast, and you feel like it's hard enough to lip read, and you know, I feel like every time I lip read and my eyes is hurting, because I feel like if you hold 10 bags, like 5 bags each arms, and 10 minutes later your arms start to hurt. Same with my eye. I lip read for 20 minutes and that's it. I can't. It's very difficult to play in mainstream. The deaf team is more family. Everyone's families are hearing, and there's like most of them are deaf in their family, so they come to this football and talk about what's going on with their days and what stress, and they feel feel like a big family. I started training with them when I was 14, and my first game was when I was 15, and ever since I've been playing for them first team. But the team that I coach is a reserve team that's set up 8 years ago. So last 7 years I've been coaching them and managing the team.
So by having the Deaflympics in place, it ensures that deaf people stay in sport, get involved in sport.
2 weeks on, and I catch up with Beth Ann to see whether she has raised enough money to fulfil her dream of competing at Samsun. The last time I saw her, she had £850 still to raise, with 5 days left.
So when I saw you on the Thursday, I think it was, I'd had the trauma of raising all money, and happened to send a text message to a guy saying who is the admin person that I could get some money from the council. He said, "Oh, why? How much do you need?" And I went, "Well, I'm down to I need 400." And he sent me a message 2 hours later saying he got the money, so I had to stop stressing. Oh, do you know what? Right, the sense of release is unreal. Absolutely. Oh, when I could send the email, I've gone and said, "I've got the funds." So I've been training last night and managed to just I was just a different person. It was flying. I can finally say that in 10 weeks I'm going to be flying out with the GB for my 3rd Deaflympics.
The Deaflympics 2017 is fast approaching. The athletes only have 2 months of training left before their ambitions of winning gold are made or broken. Although the athletes have secured their funding, the road to Samsun is not over yet.